Hey, it's the girls downtown. You can follow us on social media at The Building DT. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, TalkShoe, wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm your host, Jason Kelly. Follow me at JKellyMMA. My co-host, Amy Barton, at Ames Bell. And with all the craziness going on in the MMA betting world these days, who better than to have on than my old pal, Nick Kalikas. How's it going, my man?
Doing well, man. A pleasure to be here with you guys. You guys are two OGs of the MMA world, of course, and now you guys are dabbling into a little bit of everything with this podcast, which is outstanding. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad we're reconnecting again. As me and you, like we were saying before we came on, when I did Rear Naked Choke Radio, probably about half a dozen times had you on, and you and Amy know each other as well. So it is nice to reconnect after all these years. The one thing, though, I mean, in the past we talked about all the positives of betting. It's a sticky time right now in MMA betting, especially. I know James Krause is a friend of yours. We got to tread lightly there. I'm not trying to get him in any more shit, but I mean, you look at people that don't know what's going on social media. They're going to give their 2 cents. Then you got some people in the know, and you got to pick and choose what is correct.
Wait, now, can we start with that though? For like the people who do listen to this show who don't MMA, like, can you give a quick overview of like what we're even talking about that happened?
Myself or Nick?
I mean, either of you. I just think that like we all know what we're talking about.
Okay,
and we might get
I will real quick. So, and I could be wrong because, like I said, I know there's points missing here. And Nick, you actually could correct me along the way. So the whole thing started with James Krause, former UFC fighter, coaches a lot of fighters. He went on Ariel Helwani's show and talked about a Discord he had talking about betting. That raised some eyebrows of some people at sports books, I guess, because they noticed some funny bets on someone coming in under him. Our fighters under him, and that's what started this. Is that correct? Oh, we lost your audio.
There we go. I think I'm back, right?
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
Apologies about that. In regards to your question, I think that's somewhat like exactly. They're not exactly what happened. None of us know exactly what all the details, like how everything lined up particularly, but as far as this goes, it was more so the Minner fight. I think that rose a lot of speculation, of course. Now, you're right. He did go on Ariel Helwani show, and he was talking about how much money he makes MMA betting. So that kind of definitely raised some eyebrows, and people were kind of intrigued by that. But at that time, I don't think there was anything wrong, meaning that even, across the board for several years now, and personally myself as well, I don't think there's anything wrong with a fighter betting on themselves. That just shows you that they have confidence. They want to go out there and win the fight. Now, obviously, if you're betting maybe some props or totals, or if you're betting on your opponent, then that's a huge red flag. And that's obviously, not the way to go about it. And then you can speculate, obviously, fixing and all that stuff. But I don't think that was the case at all. Like up until the Minner fight, and then again, the way that fight played out and all the rumors and everything flying around, that's kind of what brought the stain, I think, to this whole thing, and what really brought some heat on James Krause and crew. But again, I think it's kind of still at this point, I know it's hard to believe, it's kind of more hearsay. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know, from what I understand, he didn't place any bets against Derek Minner or whatnot, right? So, and it's under investigation. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with this thing, but for me, I look at it like it was more of a leak of information. There's so many people and so many fighters that cross-train these days, and if you're in a gym and you see something going on, or you see somebody wearing a knee brace, or you see, you know what I mean? You don't even have to be close to that fighter. You could, and you could kind of, talk to somebody else, say, hey, what's going on? Is he hurt? Or there's just so many different ways this can go. And then once that person leaves the gym or the camp or whatever, and then talks to somebody else, it just kind of, elevates to another level. It starts spreading like fire, and then, the rumors are floating around, and then sometimes they end up being true, right? A lot of times it's not, though. There's so much speculation out there and injury rumors, and then you see the fight play out like it was supposed to in most cases, meaning that, a favorite might be rumored to come in with an injury. He goes out there and wins anyway, you know what I mean? And it doesn't impact the fight at all. And people are trying to bet on the news per se that they're getting or whatnot. So I think this was just in general a case of information kind of getting leaked out. And then, the betting community picked up on it. The lines were getting moved. People were just automatically assuming, the worst or whatnot, and just firing away on these bets. And then the sportsbooks were reacting to that. So again, I think that's kind of the way it played out. But again, there's an investigation going on for sure. And they're going to dig a lot deeper than any of us will.
And is it like, obviously you're not doing what James is doing, but you're still in that betting world. Is it scary when you hear things like FBI is investigating, third-party investigations? Is like, because I don't know the illegal side to that, what the penalties could be. To me, to be honest, I don't give a shit. People are making bets, whatever. As long as it's no flat-out cheating, right? Like you said, he's betting on his own fighter. or a fighter betting on themselves. I don't see any problem with that, how it could be. But once you start hearing these things, like, could it get real serious in your opinion? Like jail time?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it can definitely get real serious. I hope it doesn't get to that point, because I hope, like, there was nothing out of the ordinary or anything excessive that went on with this whole situation. Again, I think that the sports books get impacted with rumors. We see it all the time. We see it in NBA. I mean, I work for a sports book, obviously, and we book more than just fighting. I'm in charge of the risk for the fighting end of things as well. But on a daily basis, I also help out in other areas such as NBA. There's injury news that fly off the charts every day with NBA, with certain players sitting out or whatnot, or and we see these sharp guys come in and betting that injury information on a daily basis, and the line will move a few points, and the total moves. So in sports betting, I mean, obviously news and information is key, and that impacts the betting markets, period. Yeah. So to me, this was kind of in line with that sort of thing. And then also, I mean, every week when we see fight lines moving, like on fight day, I mean, you'll see some lines going from -400 to -700 at close, and it happens on a weekly basis. So, I mean, I understand that there was an extreme amount of movement in this particular case with the Minner fight, right? But for us, it wasn't nothing crazy out of the ordinary, if that makes sense. So, again, the speculation and then everything, the way the fight played out, Minner going out there, throwing the kicks like he did, that was just the weird thing about it, right? Like, I mean, if he did have an injury to that knee or whatever, you would think that you would have a smarter game plan to go out there and maybe try to look to grapple right away, and not maybe, stand up and strike with a guy that could beat you on the feet anyway, even if you were 100%. Like, so that was the weird thing. And just the way it kind of all played out, just, I don't know. I think that's what brought more attention to this, you know what I mean? Just because he went out there and lost in the first minute or so of the fight, so just not a good look across the board. But that being said, I mean, it's just hard to say, okay, Minner knew what he was doing exactly. He threw the fight, or like I said, James Krause went out there and did something that he shouldn't have done. I don't know per se. Like you said, Krause is a friend of mine. And it's hard not to like the guy, because from what I know, he's a good person. I've talked to him many times. We've done shows together. He's never given me like a tip, inside information from any of his fighters. I mean, I can 100%, I can take a lie detector test tomorrow. And assure you that that's not the case. So that's why it was a little surprising for me, because I felt like we have a good enough information, a relationship, that if he's going to spread information to anybody, then I probably would have caught wind of it. You know what I mean? And I did not. Sure. So yeah, so that's kind of where we stand right now, but it is definitely like a stain on the sport and a black eye on the sport right now.
Yeah, and the thing too, where they're saying that anyone who has any personal relationship to a UFC fighter cannot bet. I know damn well you have to have friends that are UFC fighters, right? I do. Amy does. Anyone who's in the media, if you're past like a blog where you're just writing your opinion, if you're doing interviews and building a rapport with these guys, going to events, it's inevitable. You're going to become friends with some of them, or at least very well acquainted. So where's that cutoff line, right? Where, that they say this is allowed and this is not allowed. Like, what exactly does personal relationship, where does that end and begin?
You know what? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know if it's going to be
pretty blurry.
It is pretty blurry, to be honest with you. And then again, I understand what the UFC is doing, and they're, taking precautions right now. They're trying, look, especially for them, they don't want this thing, they want the sport to be as clean as possible, right? Because, I mean, they're just a machine right now. I mean, the best fighting organization in the world. I mean, they're doing so many good things, consistently growing. Just, it's so fun to watch week in, week out, because I mean, their competitive fights they're putting on, they just have a lot of momentum going on. And so if there's anything like this, it's going to impact them, and it's going to hurt them as much as actually the sports books as well. Those are the two entities that kind of get hurt the most. Obviously, if something bad were to happen like that, then it would impact the UFC, and it would also impact the sports books, because the sports books are going to be the ones losing the money on their end as well. So yeah, you try to want to, keep everything as clean as possible. And then the relationships. So what I'm trying to get to here, I mean, if you really want to get down and you really want to bet, I mean, there's probably like, it could be a third party, it could be a fourth, you know what I mean? Like a friend of a friend of a friend could get down for you. So I don't think you're ever going to stop it from happening if somebody really wants it to happen, because again, you could just extend it out to maybe a 10-person chain or whatever, right? And have somebody else get down that's not related to you or not friends with this particular fighter. I don't know. There's just ways around everything, but there has to be something done. I mean, especially now that it's kind of, like I said, the spotlight's on the sport, and we don't want any negative attention to it for sure. And, I want people to have confidence that, the people that are betting the sport and the judges and everything across the board, everything's clean. Everything's, on the up and up, so to speak. And the judging, that's a whole different debate there. We could get into another conversation.
Yes, that's kind of where we were going to end up.
Right.
Because it's like, well, we saw what happened this weekend with Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. And then in the main event, that was just really weird. And I'm not one of these people that thinks Dana White is behind everything that happens. Those people need to give their head a shake. Now, I'm not saying Dana necessarily, but in your opinion, how difficult would it be to fix a fight? I'm not saying the fighter goes in and just lays down. That's the easiest of any of them. But I mean, right, you're fixing the judges, you're fixing this and that. Because my thoughts on it have always been, you're going to have a lot of people involved. And the more people involved, the more chances someone's going to say something, right? It's so difficult to just have like one judge and Dana, or one fighter and one coach, whatever. So in your opinion, how difficult would it be to fix a fight?
Extremely difficult, like you said, unless it's the fighter himself. Like I said, take the Minter situation. If he goes out there and just like, you know what, the first shot I take, I'm just gonna dive, right? I mean, that's up to the fighter there. But as far as paying off judges, paying off, the organizations or whatever the case may be to actually get this thing to work, and then on top of it, being able to get the amount of money down at every sports book you could get to, it's a pain in the butt. It's not an easy thing to do for sure, and I don't think it's honestly possible these days, or easily done these days, put it that way, because like you said,
it's possible, it's not plausible.
Right, exactly. That's a better way to put it, I think, right? So, and that's the other thing that people are forgetting. I mean, there are some books that take decent action. I know it's Circa Las Vegas, we take big bets on UFC and MMA, but most of the books out there, I mean, when we're taking like 30,000 on a regular fight night card for a main event, right? That's a main event. So on a fight night card, for example, we take like 30,000 on the main event, maybe 20,000 on the main card fights, and then we take $10,000 on the prelim fights, right? As far as betting goes. Now, there's books out there that take $500 on a prelim fight, 1,000 on the main card fights, and then maybe 2,000 on the main event. Yeah. So do you know how much money you're gonna have to hit so many places to be able to get the amount of money down? You know what I mean? Or if you got, now there's other ends of this too. There's credit accounts, per head accounts out there, and maybe there's agents that can extend players credit to get down a bigger amount of money. So there's different scenarios that you can maybe make it work, but it's very difficult to do so, especially if you're going to get down some real money. And then, like I said, to get to the judges and to actually, work it that way. I mean, back in the day, I think it was a lot more possible, possibly, but these days with the spotlight on everything, I think it's very difficult to do.
What if we go to Texas?
What does that mean?
Because the Texas judging is what? I'm assuming that she's saying that,
yes.
Right? Like, yeah. No, man, it's head scratching. Like, I actually, you know what? From this past weekend, I was so frustrated. I ended up calling the Nevada State Athletic Commission because I wanted to get one of these guys on my show too to clarify everything, right? Right. So I called it and I tried to get somebody lined up. And actually, I got a call back from the executive director, Jeffrey Mullen, and he did talk to me. We had about a 30-minute conversation, and he was a really nice guy. He gave his 2 cents, and I am going to have him on he wasn't able to make it on this week. So we are going to schedule something for the future with him so he can kind of clarify a little bit. I think it's important, man, for, because we see it every weekend. We see some just off the wall scorecards. And again, a lot of people are going to just automatically assume, oh, it's dirty. They fixed it. How is this possible? Like for Patty Pimblett, for example, we all know that the star power Patty has, right? Like he's the one that brings eyeballs, to the fight. He's the one that's, kind of a marketing machine right now, meaning that he's getting that kind of attention. Look, it's going to be hard to ever catch Conor McGregor's status, right? But Patty's kind of on his way. He's trending in that direction. Now this past weekend wasn't a good look for him because one thing that Conor did differently than a lot of these fighters, especially at the beginning, he would talk the smack, but he'd go in there and back it up. I mean, he backed it up quite easily, right? So, I mean, Patty's, spot right now, he didn't go out there and perform overly well. And then a lot of people did score for Gordon. I scored a 2-1 for Gordon personally. So I agree with, I think he should have won the fight. But it was pretty competitive. If you go back and look, I mean, there wasn't a lot going on in moments of that fight too. So it was a very close fight, but I think Gordon definitely did win that fight. So we're seeing those kind of, scorecards often, and people are just scratching their heads. And I don't think it's not the judges that are dirty. I really believe that truly. It's not that they're going out there trying to fix a fight. I just think honestly, they're just not consistent. Every judge is a little bit different the way they look at stuff. Some of them might like the grappler, some of them might like the striker. We just need consistency. These guys got to follow the blueprint, so to speak, that's laid out, the criteria that's laid out, and just be consistent with it. And then I think the scoring will get a little bit better, but it's all over the place.
And is that something too where you think, or do you even see it actually the way betting trends, like that'll affect the amount of bettors, the amount of money that people are putting down? You're going to see it betting's never going to go away, but a slight decline for a period when people don't have faith in the judges and shit like that. Is that something you notice?
I mean, some of the big bettors out there already said it after this weekend. You know, there was tweets out there from a lot of these guys like, it's so hard. I'm getting so frustrated to bet on the sport. But you know what? The truth is we reset every week. Every week's a new week. And you just kind of throw everything out the window. And those guys want it, like there's an edge and you want to make money betting on fights, right? So when you have that edge, I mean, you can't just automatically assume these guys are going to, you know, screw me over, so to speak, on the scorecards.
Yeah.
If you find value, you're still going to bet it. So I do think a lot of people are kind of hesitant and they're frustrated with it. But when it comes down to it, the bets are still going to be made and people are going to try to still find the value when there's value to be had, so to speak. So it hasn't really impacted it in a negative way. If anything, the handle continues to increase on a weekly basis. The sport is growing. There's more people getting into it. I think it personally, if you look at the NFL, obviously that's the number one, like, you know, outside of soccer, of course. I mean, because soccer is a global sport. We know it gets a ton of action. But as far as NFL, that's what drives the U.S. sports book, right? The sports books out there. There's nothing else like that gets as much action as NFL. I think MMA and UFC is kind of relatable, so to speak, to NFL. Like it fits in so well with the betting. So, and I think a lot of fans are getting behind it as well. So we're seeing a constant increase in betting handle for all these UFC fights. So we're not seeing a decrease despite the judging being all over the place.
And with everything going on right now, I haven't heard a particular name, but is there a name or a certain body of people that you think will be like Jeff Nowitzki when he came in with USADA? He was headhunting. You know what I mean? It was like his mission. Didn't he like the camp outside of Lance Armstrong's house and go through his garbage can night after night or some shit? Like he's bound and determined, right? Is there a person you have heard of or a body of people you've heard of that this is their sole mission right now, is to get to the bottom of this and clean it up?
I mean, I'm sure there's people out there. I don't know personally if that's in play right now. No, I haven't heard anything like that. But you know what? I mean, again, I just want the consistency as well because, you know, you're booking the fights. Like I said, I'm on both sides of it, meaning that I'm a pro bettor, so I will find value. I bet at other places that, you know, when the line moves or whatever, and I think there's value there, I'm going to get down. So I do make bets on a weekly basis myself. So it's frustrating. I've been on the wrong side of a lot of bad decisions, you know what I mean? And that's, you know, when you put your work in and you have an edge, like I said, you put your hard-earned money down and you get it right and they take it away from you with just ignorance, it seems. It's so frustrating. But on the other end of it, as a sports book and as a risk manager, whatnot, and you're managing the risk here too, and you're putting yourself in a good position, you're putting yourself in the right position, and then the judges take that from you as well. So it's so frustrating, man, because like I said, you kind of line yourself up to where you want to be, and then the decision gets read, and you're like, holy cow, what just happened there? Like, and you know what I mean? And you lose on it, you know, more times than not. So it's very frustrating to see your hard work kind of get derailed by, like I said, sometimes more ignorance than anything else, I think.
Yep. And I live in Ontario, Canada, and as I'm sure you know, MMA betting, UFC betting is off the books right now. You can do offshore, but that's it. Alberta, as of last week as well. First of all, two things. Why the hell Ontario? And second of all, do you think that that'll be like, is this a domino effect that you expect to see down into the States and all over the world?
I hope not, man, because again, it's a bad look on like the UFC. It's a bad look on, you know, MMA. It's not that bad. Like as far as, you know, it shouldn't be taken off the books or whatnot too. I don't think it should be that way. And it is going to hurt, I think, especially the legal sports books, because like you just said right now, everybody's going to try to go offshore then, right? I mean, if there's bets to be made, people are still going to want to bet these fights. So they're just going to go offshore. So you're actually going to lose business. I don't think that's a good idea. I understand they're being, you know, they're taking caution right now. They're trying to kind of figure out what's going on and then probably reopen things up. I think there were some parts of Canada, if I'm not mistaken, that did already reopen.
All I knew was Ontario and Alberta were the only ones that closed. So some others might have
possibly
banned it and then open back up
with the rulings and with the Krause suspension and stuff like that. I think some places might have adjusted and opened back up. But you don't want that, man. I mean, it's awful to see something.
What is the point of doing that though? Like if somebody does take it off the books like that, is that to protect people from the liability of potentially losing money on something that they don't know is on the up and up yet? Or like why would they just be like, no, you can't do this?
It's to protect themselves more, I think, right? It's just
like because they don't want to lose money. Basically.
Exactly. They don't want to lose money. So they're just kind of like, you know what, if people are going to know something or, you know, catch wind of something and it's going to affect us in a negative way, then forget it. We don't want anything to do with it. For them, they'd rather just take it off the board, not worry about it. And then, you know what I mean, focus on other stuff that's going to bring them money, such as NFL or whatever the case may be, like that. So,
I mean, I certainly don't follow Ontario news, but I saw that and I was like, why would you take what's probably the second or third biggest money bringer in her betting just away? Like people are still, idiots are still going to bet on it right now.
Yes.
You know, it's tumultuous and it's chaotic and there's this shit's happening and who knows what's going to happen, but like people will still throw their money at you.
100%. Yeah,
Well,
so I know they're trying to be, safe about it, but yeah, they're just kind of missing out on money too. I don't think it's a good idea.
this past Saturday, I don't know how many messages on Facebook or text messages. Yo, what the fuck's going on? I can't bet on Bet 365. Yeah, it's banned right now. Well, can I bet? You got to go offshore. I bet you at least 20 fucking people I know went offshore
Also,
betting
who
this
made
weekend.
you the betting expert?
I know people, but right. It's like the same as when people call me to what we're making fun of Amy, the voice of reason. When I become the voice of reason, there's a problem.
no
Same
doubt.
with when I become the betting expert.
Well, people
Listen,
have always also asked us for tickets to events for years, and it's like I don't.
not that long ago, last Saturday.
Right? Like, who do you think? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call Dana. He'll meet you at the door. Don't worry about it. How do you think this works? Yeah,
Exactly,
I used to tell people all the time when I was like deeply involved in it. They'd be like, hey, can you get me a hookup? I'd be like, yeah, you got a pen and paper? Yeah. Call Ticketmaster. You can find the number online. They'll hook you up with whatever you need.
Yeah. Dude, it's funny because I get asked that a lot as well. Because we do obviously the Fight Pass shows and whatnot. So every weekend, when there's a fight event, can you give me it here? Can you give me Conor McGregor tickets? Can you? It's not that easy. Yeah,
Bro, I can't give me tickets. Stop.
I know, right? Yeah, it's very difficult.
Back in the day, baby. Jeez.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? So for you, Nick, do you have any concerns for yourself right now with this going on? Is there anything like, I mean, I'm not trying to insinuate that you're out doing illegal stuff, but you never know, right? If they start turning over every single rock, you're a big part of this. Your name is going to come up.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I've been in this industry for like 20 years and I've done things clean. I've always done the right thing. So I'm not worried about it because like I said, when you're doing the right thing is you're trying to maintain like a high level of consistency, especially just for me, like I said, it's important. I mean, as an odds maker as well, because I was originating most of the lines that came out for several years, like, you know what I mean? For over a decade, every line that came out, the majority of them that went out there came from my desk. Right. So in that regard, I mean, I took everything serious and I continue to do so. So I'm not worried about that as far as like an investigation. I mean, I did not bet the Minner fight at all. I mean, it's funny because, which is good, thank God, because you know what? I mean, like I said, I bet fights, and what if it was coincidentally that I had a bet on that fight? It just, before any of the information or anything came out, I'm so glad I stayed away from that fight. I wanted nothing to do with that fight just because of the matchup. I wasn't confident either way, to be honest with you, pre-fight, but just because of the stuff, you know what I mean? Minner I thought he had a potential path to victory with the submission game, but I thought he could have got knocked out on the feet. Anyway, the matchup I didn't want anything to do with it. It was funny because a coworker of mine hit me up when the whole market was rising and there were like minus 350s out there and there were still maybe minus 200 at the sports book. He's like, hey man, this line is ridiculously low. You want to get some? And I was like, I don't want nothing to do with that fight. And that was even before the information and everything, you know what I mean? The rumors started speculating. So I'm glad in that regard that I was able to, stay away, because there's nothing they could say, you know what I mean? To sort of, oh, did you have action on this fight? Did you know anything? No, absolutely not. Zero. Like I said, we saw the tweets that came out. We did get an integrity alert as well. The U.S. Integrity Company that sent out the alert about suspicious wagering activity. We got that as well. So then, we started kind of to look at things a little bit closer and see if anything was funny or not. And for us in particular, like I said, even the decision for us, we did lose on that fight. We lost money on that fight, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, we win and lose that amount on fights all the time. You know what I mean? For us. So it was nothing kind of crazy or whatnot. And again, as far as an investigation regarding me or whatever, I mean, they can investigate all they want, and I think I should be good.
Waste
so I'm
resources.
not really too worried about it. Yeah, I mean, I have had conversations with Krause, obviously, you know what I mean? And I think they might have, I don't know if this is true or not, because I haven't talked to him since, all this went down. I did call him after the fact, though. I did talk to him when that fight played out the way it did shortly after, the Minner lost that fight. And with everybody speculating everything, I got on the phone and I talked to him, and it was right outside the sports book. It's like, hey, dude, what's going on? Like, did he have a pre-existing injury going into that fight? You know what I mean? That's what I asked him right away. I mean, is it true? Like, what's going on? And Krause was pretty open and honest about it. And he was like, you know what? He did hurt his knee in camp. He's like, and this is stuff that he said on record, I think openly about it too, right? Yep. And he also said, he tried, he told him to pull out of the fight, but he needed the money, man. I mean, these fighters need the money out there. So he thought he could go out there and still win. So, I mean, he didn't take Krause's advice as far as not taking the fight or whatnot. Right. So there was a pre-existing injury in camp and he went out there. The fighter needed the money and he took the fight. So, he was very open and honest about that, but that was after the fact and after the fight happened. Right. Because, like I said, I had to kind of reach out and figure out what was going on. And at least he was pretty, clear about that. And then, I just feel bad because there's going to be so much speculation and kind of dirt, and everybody's going to automatically point the finger and assume he's guilty and he did something maybe above and beyond what happened or whatnot. But I personally don't feel that way, again, because he's always been open and honest with me about everything. And I just think it was more information leak than anything else. I really feel that way.
Mm-hmm. And with the group, you mentioned that for the integrity notice, is there something that you're obligated to report if you see something coming in that looks a little funny?
Yes. Yeah. If we see stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I think got on track for, the integrity. So a sportsbook must have alerted them that they were getting like high level bets on a certain market or not. If it was, against men or if it was a total rounds or whatever the case may be, they started getting so much action. I guess they must have flagged and alerted the company, the U.S. Integrity Company, where they got more than one alert. But for us, again, it was kind of like another day at the office, so to speak, because we take big bets and, we were getting action on that fight, but it was nothing out of the ordinary. And on top of it all, if you're seeing the market a lot of time as a risk manager, whatnot, and the market starts taking off, so you have a fight at minus 250 and you see the market go up to minus 350, you're going to get hit at minus 250, right? Somebody's going to come in to take that number. So a lot of times you're moving on air, which means you're moving it without even taking a bet, because you're getting closer to the market, right? So maybe you don't move to minus 350, but you might move it from minus 250 to minus 300 because you're still low at minus 300 if the market's at 350. So if somebody's going to lay it, why not make them lay a little bit more chalk, right? A little bit more juice on that 300 instead of the 250 or whatnot. So there's a lot of adjusting that goes on without bets being actually taken that people don't realize as well, because the market's moving and you kind of have to adjust yourself and position yourself to take, a better bet than you want. Like I said, if somebody's going to come in and bet a fight at minus 250, I'd rather have them take minus 275 because, obviously they're going to lay a little bit more. So it works out better in case they do lose for us or whatnot. So there's a lot of that stuff that went on. And there was a lot of adjustments on air that went on market wide. So again, it wasn't all the money that caused all that movement in the line. There was a lot of air movement that went along with it as well. So, but yes, to answer your question a little bit more clearly, if we do see some kind of suspicious activity, then we can alert these guys and let them know, hey, there's something funny going on with this fight. Can you check it out? So yes.
So has that came up in the past before? Have you had to make someone aware? And even though something may not have came of it, right? It could just be something funny going on with one of the fights or something. Have you had to alert whoever this body is?
No, we haven't yet. And again, Circa's been open for about 3 years or so now. And there's not an instance that we've had to alert anybody in a situation that I'm aware of, at least. So no, it hasn't happened on our end. Like everything seems to be, everything's been good. There's been a lot of off markets. And I think there's been, some badminton or table tennis stuff like they went out. We don't even offer that stuff. So, but there is some books that offer like kind of those crazy markets.
Everything.
Right. Yeah. They just want to put a line on everything. So those kind of markets there's been alerts sent out, I think, in that kind of stuff in regards, but again, we don't even offer some of those lines anyway. So it didn't impact us at all.
If there was like a USADA type thing that the UFC put together to keep an eye on betting, is that something you'd be part of? Like say it was like, even it was a voluntary thing, right? Where they want to keep things above board. Would you be a part of that?
I would love to. I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, because again, I mean, it does nobody any good to have any kind of stain or any kind of like criminal activity in regards to betting. You know what I mean? It does. Yeah. So I think the cleaner the sport, the bigger and we can elevate things, to a higher level, possibly one day taking, like I said, for us on the main events for pay-per-view, we take 50,000, sometimes 100,000 on a main event. It's like if it's a Conor McGregor fight or whatnot. So I would like to continue to see this sport stay clean and elevate everything to another level and have some of these sports books that are taking $2,000 on main events, maybe have the guts and eventually get up to like the $10,000 mark or 15,000, take bigger bets and stuff like that. So I want to consistently see this thing grow, but we have to do things the right way. So if there's integrity and things put in to make sure everything's on the up and up and everything stays clean, I would definitely be interested in being a part of something like that for sure.
Right. And when people go offshore, do risks come along with that you won't get when, say, you're betting at an established American or Canadian outlet?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously the U.S. legal books, they're under more scrutiny. You have to do things. You have to follow the guidelines per state, the commissions, all the stuff that goes on, the gaming control boards. So yes, I think now as far as offshores, they're not regulated obviously as much, but there's a lot of good offshore books out there. I mean, honestly, so that you're going to be safe with. You just have to do your research and obviously study and try to find a good spot to bet if you're going to go that route. But there is a lot of decent books that are not going to rip you off. They're not going to take your money or whatnot to. And a lot of the fans that are listening to this know exactly, some of the books I'm talking about.
They know where to go.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's not like just because they're an offshore book, they're going to steal your money. But in the past, there's been some smaller books, that's the thing as well, right? Some smaller places that pop up out of nowhere, open up shop, and then maybe, get crushed and they don't pay out their customers and close down. Historically in the past, that's happened off and on. So that's, I guess, the thing you have to worry about, or the risk you're going to take as far as getting offshore, is you have to make sure you find a reliable, credible offshore book if you're going to place wagers offshore, and not one of these just upstarts that are, you know what I mean, that don't have that reliable, that history, the background or whatnot too. So I think that's the biggest risk. But if you're going to bet an established company, I mean, these places are not going to rip you off. They're very fair. And in fact, some of these places will take some bigger limits than some of the local places as well. So yeah, I mean, again, obviously you got to favor the U.S. markets. I'm not telling anybody go bet offshore or bet illegally or whatnot. If you could get down in the U.S., then do so. Obviously, keep things clean. But I don't think it's fair to say that these offshores are criminals, or they're going to take your money, or they're going to rip you off. Because I know there's a lot of good places out there as well.
Right on. And for like me living in Ontario, if I wanted to bet, I know it's banned here. I don't bet, but a lot of my friends do. Could I bet on like Circa? Could I go through that sports book or something? Or because it's banned in Ontario, would I be banned from betting in another North American thing that's not necessarily offshore, other side of the world or some shit? Like, would there be something there preventing me?
Yeah, you have to state to state thing. In the U.S., it has to be like per state, right? So you can't, like, if you live in Nevada, you're not going to be able to place a bet in Illinois, for example, right? Which is, you know what, that's so frustrating too, because we're just limiting ourselves, so to speak. I wish it was open, you know what I mean, across the state, across state lines and all that stuff. Because I mean, I would love to get accounts, maybe the sports book in, like I said, Illinois or Ohio, wherever the case may be. But no, it's a state by state basis. So if you're in Nevada and living in the state of Nevada, you can place bets at Circa Sports, right? We also have Colorado. We have Circa Sports Colorado, Circa Sports Iowa. So if you're in those states, then you can place a bet at Circa Sports. But we're only in those 3 states right now. We are going to be in Illinois soon as well. So we'll be in 4 states, but those are the only places that you can legally bet with us. Now, of course, like books like DraftKings, FanDuels, I mean, they're, they're hitting a lot more states, they're, as far as, they're available in more states than we are right now as well. So, but if you're in Canada, you're not going to be able to bet at a DraftKings unless it's in your, particular
province.
area. Province. Exactly. So I believe, I'm not sure exactly the guidelines in Canada. Maybe you guys are more open over there. Like, as far as, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, how it would work. Like I said, I don't do a lot of betting. I put $10 in a slot machine once and I lost it in like 10 seconds. That ruined my whole weekend. So I don't bet.
And his whole life ended right there.
Yeah. I put like $50 in Bet365 a while back. This is a couple years ago now. And I was making bets. You would have got so mad at me. Like Joe Rizzo, right? You know him, my old co-host. And he's right into betting, right? He'd be like, so what are you going to bet tonight? I was like, well, I'm going to do this parlay or this with these props. He'd be like, well, what are you laying down on that? I'll be like, $2. He'd be like, you're betting $2? Seriously, man? And he told me at the beginning, he's like, that $50 you put in that account is going to slowly bleed to nothing. And that's what happened, because my wins would be $7 and shit, right? So the money just slowly bleeds. The last bet I made, I had, I think, like 15 cents in the account or something. It was under $1. And I bet Anderson Silva to beat Daniel Cormier when he stepped in on 1 day's notice. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I was like, I just want this account empty. I'm never betting again. I'm terrible at gambling. So yeah, I'm not sure how it would work, what the regulations were here. But like, you say you could bet offshore. So I didn't know exactly what offshore meant. Does that mean I can bet on American sports books as well? Or like you said, you're not quite sure.
I mean, obviously American sports, and they have all the sports that, you're able to bet on that we, have here as well. But yeah, no, it's just offshore, meaning like places like Costa Rica, and that sort of thing as well.
Hit up Joey.
There you go. I believe he's actually in the States now too, as well. So,
is he? I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. I know he was like going back and forth for a while in the interim there. So
yeah, I believe he's, if I'm not mistaken, maybe with Hard Rock in Florida.
Is he?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, because he was from, I think he was from Pennsylvania or Jersey or something originally, and then.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't remember. I haven't talked to him in a long time.
And,
I have a question though. You mentioned DraftKings. So funny. I just mentioned DraftKings to Jason 4 days ago. I remember when they launched, which was like 10 years ago now, right? It was like 2011, 12, somewhere in there.
About that, yeah.
And because they had approached all of us and they were like, we'll give you a free account, we'll load it up with money as long as you tweet about it and have us on your show and all this stuff, right? So we kind of were all on the ground floor of unintentionally promoting this new thing. And like much like Jason just described, once the here's your $250 or whatever is gone, I don't bet either. So like that was it for me. It was fun playing around. Fantasy sports aren't my thing. Fantasy betting, parlays, none of it. I hate it. It's terrible odds. But that being said, because I'm not into it, and that started as such a small thing, and they really dug into the MMA part of things because they saw a place that they could fit in there. It absolutely shocks me now when I see them out in the wild, because I don't MMA that hard anymore, right? So I was in Nashville on Sunday at a concert at Bridgestone, and I looked up I was talking to Jason, I looked up from my phone, and the whole arena was like, DraftKings, DraftKings, DraftKings. And I was like, oh shit, DraftKings. So my question, that was a long lead up for a really boring question.
Long walk around the block.
Which is, are they still kind of like low key, chilled, laid back? Some people know who they are, or have they really grown exponentially in the last 10 years?
No, man, they're a monster now for sure.
Yeah,
they're huge. Them, DraftKings, obviously, who we're talking about. FanDuel, another one, right? Caesars, obviously, like again, Caesars been established before DraftKings and FanDuel and whatnot. But those are the marketing machines right now that are, hitting those commercials, that are targeting a lot of sports bettors, that are sponsoring everything there is. I mean, if you see DraftKings, they're everywhere, man. In fights, obviously they're a big sponsor of the UFC, but outside of that, they sponsor a lot of boxing events. So everywhere they can put their logo and their name, they are. So they're spending a lot of money.
Right.
And with that, they're just trying to get customers out there. They're trying to grab those $50 bettors, those $25 bettors out there. And that's why they have extensive prop menus as well. So they do a very good job marketing. And as far as I said, being located in the most states. And so those are the bigger books right now for sure. Across the United States, it's the FanDuels, it's the DraftKings. They're kind of the marketing machines, and they're the monsters out there. Now, again, with that though, there's a lot of people that complain about maybe getting their limits cut because, a lot of books do not, they don't like people beating them. You know what I mean? So if you start winning, they will, if you're winning better, a lot of times they'll adjust your credit and adjust your limits, or what I should say, and they'll reduce you down. So maybe a normal bettor might get $1,000 on this market to bet, and you might get 100 because they don't want you beating them. Right. So they basically, say, hey, go bet somewhere else. We don't want your action. So those type of books like DraftKings and FanDuel have the reputation of doing that more so than some of the other books out there. But again, it's their business model. It's hard to argue. They've had a lot of success, and they've obviously, have picked up a lot of customers. And as far as like recognition from the average everyday person in America, I mean, those are the two books I think people recognize the most right now.
What about is it Bet US? I don't know who sold my information to who, but I get more crap in the mail, the actual mail, like in my mailbox on the street. So I know it's garbage because it's paper
I do as
mail.
well. I get those still.
Bro, what the fuck? So also, there's your answer, Jason. They're like Costa Rican and Canadian or whatever, but like, are they like? I've never known anything about them other than somebody sold them my address. Is that like a moderate size book offshore?
They're one of the original offshore books. So they've been around for a long time now. Again, as far as trustworthy or whatnot, I mean, I don't think they're going to rip people off, but at the same time, as far as cutting limits down and kicking out winners and stuff like that, I think they've been kind of tagged with that sort of reputation as well. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's more reputable books out there, but as far as marketing goes, like you said, man, I think every month I get something in the mail from those guys. Right?
And they're so good at it. Like, it's no return address. It doesn't look like junk. I open every fucking one of them. I hate it.
I've been there. Yeah. It's amazing, right? But yeah, they're competing right now. See, and books like that are going to have to go even farther now to try to get these, because they are losing customers to DraftKings and to FanDuels and stuff like that, right? So they got to go market a little bit harder, try to get these players over and recognize that they're around as well. So it is definitely, since the U.S. legalization, it has impacted the offshore market a little bit, because players are going to stay, if they can, they're going to try to stay in-house or whatever, and just bet at their local sports book or whatnot as well. But at the same time, I know some of the bigger offshore books have actually continued to grow. So it's weird. Yeah. So I think some of the books that are doing things right offshore, they haven't felt a negative impact, believe it or not. But some of the smaller places, or some of the people that maybe, don't do things on the bigger scale, or try to focus on, like I said, the actual risk management side of things, they're suffering a little bit more. So it's hit or miss on who's kind of struggling now in the offshore world in comparison to who's not. But the U.S. books are definitely thriving overall. But again, there's just so many of them that eventually we're going to see a lot of books get kind of weeded out through the years. I see that in 2 or 3 years, there's 15, 20 books in some of these states. We'll probably see that dwindle down to 5 books, but there'll be 5 reputable, solid books. Or, you know what I mean? I think that's going to eventually, everything will get condensed a little bit more, because there's so many books out there trying to, come out strong and pick up customer base.
So I have a question, and I don't know that this may be like a state by state thing. So I don't know is probably the answer on this, but so like in Nevada, no Powerball, obvious why, right? So like every state has their thing. When I lived in Vegas, I was like, hey, gambling is totally normal. Betting is normal. This is, how it works. And many states, there are, some tiers of gambling that's legal. But I remember I also lived in Florida and not legal. And Sheldon Adelson, in fact, funneled a lot of money to Florida to keep it illegal there. And I learned after a couple of years of living there that you cannot gamble in almost any way, but you can bet on horse racing. And there are poker rooms at horse racing and dog racing tracks. And they're not any kind of special designation. They're not tribal land. So I don't know if you know the answer. I'm guessing tribal was where you were going to go if it was a reservation or a boat, which they're not. So is there, to your knowledge, you don't live in every state, some kind of loophole around like dog and horse racing that is not applicable to the rest of betting? Like, why can you have a poker room in a dog racing track if playing poker is illegal in your state?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do not know the legalities of that, to be honest with you. But yeah, I know there is some of that going on in Florida, man. What are they doing?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. They should legalize. Well, I think it is a tribal thing, though, right over there. They got like, I think
it's in Daytona Beach.
Well, I'm saying like as far as I know that Hard Rock Gaming came out and they opened up a sports book for a while, and I think they were associated with again, I don't know all the details with it, but I thought they were like, somewhere as far as Indian reservation land, possibly, or something like that.
Seminole is, yes.
Yeah. So, right. And they did extremely well. Like they came out of the gates and oh my God, the amount of money that they took and handled for, I think the first month or two that they opened up. I mean, not for a long time, just on
People
vacation.
People are not smart. It's lots of money to be made.
That's where you're getting at. I got you. No, yeah, but it's incredible. Then I think they just kind of closed it down or whatever. Now, so there is like I think Hard Rock again is expanding, and they have their offerings in different states, but not in Florida right now because it's not legal yet there. Right. But once they do open that up,
Florida.
Yeah. So it'll open things up, and it's kind of like a monopoly over there if they can. Like it's crazy, but yeah, there's a lot to be said about that sort of thing. I don't know what the loopholes are exactly and how they get away with that stuff. I'm not sure.
Like, have you heard of anywhere? The only reason I know that is one of my neighbors was a dealer in the poker room, and I was like, "But they don't take bets." And she was like, "It's
wow."
Poker. Like I was the idiot. And I was like, "That's illegal, right?" And she's like, "It's not the dog track, and it's common knowledge. It's not like a secret hidden. It's not a speakeasy or anything, I mean,
yeah. No, that's crazy.
I wouldn't figure you'd know Florida laws. I just was like, I don't think this is a normal thing that like happens places.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, that's a bit surprising. I know, like in Ohio, again, this was years ago. Obviously, I'm from Ohio, the state of Ohio. So, like the only time you get away with having poker tournaments or stuff like that was for charity stuff, right? So I don't know if there's a loophole for charity that they could get around to say that this portions of this is going to charity. So again, I think that's kind of one loophole that they found a long time ago, but I'm not sure what, per state. Everything's going to eventually open up, though. There's going to be poker rooms, everything. I mean, there's just too much money to be made or whatnot. So eventually, I think we're going to see a lot more places that are kind of hesitant right now or trying to be a little bit greedy or whatever, try to keep things on a lockdown, and they'll have to open up. And and it'll be a good thing when everybody does, I think.
I mean, when you're talking about the Midwest, though, especially like in Ohio, if you can't even buy liquor on Sunday, I don't think you can expect the books to be opening up there anytime soon.
Well, I think they go live January 1st in Ohio. Like,
listen to him. No, I lived in Ohio like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, they go live, and I can't believe it. It's kind of cool to see that too as well, right? But I think it's like obviously the brick and mortar places, some of them are still being built, so there's going to be maybe a few months down the road. But I think like as far as flipping on the switch, January 1st, I think it's legal to make bets in Ohio. So there's other places that are going to follow suit like that as well. But yeah, no, it's definitely
God bless the Ohio State fans bank account.
Right, a lot of the colleges, it's going to be crazy. Like, you know what? Again, there's just too much money to be made out there for these books, or for these states, I should say, to not open up for these books, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to handle the amounts of money. Like for us, for a long time, obviously, because Vegas was the place to go, bet sports or whatever, right? Like Vegas had the most action, the most handle on a month-to-month basis by far. But now you're seeing Jersey, New York surpassed Las Vegas. You're seeing it's crazy because you're seeing some of these other states actually write more action than even Las Vegas does in sports betting. And we're going to say, Well, I mean, the markets out there, like sports betting has been around in Jersey and it's been around in obviously New York and that for a long time, but it's been kind of under the table, so to speak.
Legal or not, it has been around in New York and New Jersey.
Right. Absolutely. So now it just, obviously everything opened up and there's just so much money that's getting thrown around. There's so many sharp bettors in those areas. I know Colorado's a hotbed for sharp bettors as well, believe it or not. Like it's crazy because there's a lot of professional bettors that go out there because there's so many sports books and so many accounts out there. And again, being a professional bettor, you're chasing numbers, you're chasing lines, right? So the more books that you have and the more soft books you have, meaning that maybe some places aren't moving along. Like I was talking about earlier, like moving on air, if the line is minus 250 with you guys, everybody else is minus 350, then you kind of have to adjust. Well, some of these books, they're kind of sleeping at the wheel, so to speak. So they're not adjusting their numbers. So if you see minus 250 out here and you see everywhere else has minus 400, you're going to hit the 250 because they say, wait a second, these guys are way behind here, right? So these professional bettors out there, a lot of them are board cleaners, meaning that they go and just pick out every like stale number or offbeat number, so to speak, and just grab them while they can, right? And they just clean the board, so to speak. That means that they're picking off those bad numbers and then you have to adjust because they're giving you that action or whatnot as well. And they're just always trying to do that. So states like Colorado is a hotbed for that sort of thing. And like I said, New York and all that, there's been so many professional bettors out there for a long time. So there's states that are definitely going to compete with Vegas as far as handle and surpass us as well.
I saw some people talking about right after this whole James Krause thing, and the person lives in Ontario. So I guess it was more so after the Ontario thing. After they took that away, they said that that's going to affect their income a lot because they count on that income betting every single weekend. And a lot of people were saying, oh, you're a gambling degenerate. There's no such thing as professional bettor and blah, blah, blah. And I get there is a fine line there, right? But in your opinion, what is it that makes someone a professional bettor, whether that be your side job or even your full-time job? Like what is it that separates them from somebody who just has deep pockets and throws money at everything and hopes something sticks?
Well, I
balls
mean,
of steel.
No, that's true though, man. You have to have the patience, you have to have the discipline, you have to have the bankroll management. I mean, honestly, that one of the number one things is the bankroll management for these professional bettors as well. So they have a certain amount of money that they're betting with, and they bet a percentage of that bankroll, right? And they stay consistent with it, they stay disciplined with it, and they're going out on a weekly basis and they're picking off again. They're not really betting with their hearts. Like for me, look, I'm a professional bettor, but on a weekly basis, I still bet my teams, meaning on a smaller scale. I'm not going to be crazy and bet a big amount of money because I know I'm betting like a square, so to speak, on my teams because I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan. So it's hard for me not to bet them. It's hard to bet against them, right? So for me, whether they're supposed to lose, they're supposed to win, I get sucked into it a little bit. And that's my degen side, so to speak, that I have, that all of us have. But I am also pro bettor, so I'm not like what I mean. On the other side of things, that I am line shopping. I'm trying to get the best number that you could possibly get, and I mean they just go about it like I said. It's a business for them, so they're just picking off numbers. They're not like. They don't have a favorite team, so to speak. Like they're not doing what I just said about the Bengals across the board and just picking their favorite spots or betting with their hearts. They're actually betting because they're finding value. They're seeing an off number or whatnot, and they're betting at on a daily basis and trying to pick off those spots. So again, where the more casual bettor is just going to bet like the UFC's on, oh, let's bet some fights this weekend, or the NFL's on, let's just bet some NFL games. And they're maybe not doing the research as much. They're just kind of, like I said, having fun with it. And that's, I think, the difference now. And also professional bettor, how we gauge them a lot of times is if you're beating the closing number, right? So if it's a bettor that's betting consistently with you and is consistently beating the closing number, meaning like if you get, say, for example, we'll use a football, a game, tonight's game or whatnot. If you see Seattle versus San Francisco, and San Francisco, say a touchdown favor, right? -7. If that line closes -10 and you got in at -7, right? And you're consistently beating that number, that means you beat the closing number. So you laid -7 on that price that closed maybe -9, -10. So you beat that closing number. And in the long term, the professional bettors that are beating those closing numbers, that are getting better numbers than that close, you're going to win. You're going to be a profitable sports bettor. So a lot of times when you see a person coming in and consistently beating the closing number, whether it's MMA, whether it's NFL, then those people are definitely on the right track, and you have to respect their action.
So is it safe to say that people that are doing that are primarily doing that type of thing, and that's that, or is it a mixture of that and like really taking some of the riskier bets to pull in a big payday every now and then as well?
Well, I think there's a little bit of everything that goes on because, like I said, there's a type of bettors that are out there just scalping everything, meaning that they're on both sides of everything. So they're getting a number that they know is going to move, or like I said, as far as stale numbers go, so you're getting like say +120 on a fight. Let's use a fight for example. So you're getting +120 on fighter A, right? And you're only laying -115 on fighter B, That's a scalp. You got a 5-cent scalp. It's basically you got a 5-cent earn,
Right.
you know? So and there is a lot of spots like that might have an offline. Okay, this guy's minus 115. Well, this guy just went to plus 120. So you take the plus 120 at this book, you take the minus 115 at this book, and you're going to make free money no matter what happens. You're going to make, a profit. So there's a lot of that goes on, and those are scalpers. And again, some of the board cleaners that I was talking about as well. So there's a lot of those type of bettors. And then there's also just the sharp bettors that are betting their opinion that come in and beat the number and that are making the bigger wagers, like you said as well. So there's the safer bettors that are trying to pick up scalps, and they're professionals, and they grind out profits year after year. I mean, it's kind of no risk, so to speak, right? But it's a game, and it's not an easy one to play. You have to be highly involved. You have to be watching the screen. There's different betting screens, like for example, Don Best Sports. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Don Best.
Yeah.
So Don Best is basically a screen where you're going to see all the world's top sports books and what their lines offerings are and whatnot. So you see these pro bettors, they have an account at Don Best, and they're sitting there, they're watching the screen daily. So you see all these lines, the screen might light up, meaning that a game just went from -6 to -7, right? And then this book you see on the screen is still at -6 because you're going to grab that -6 or whatnot. So it just, you use those kind of tools or whatnot out there, and you're picking off numbers. Again, there's just a couple different types of bettors, but both of them, as far as professional standards go, I think that's the way you kind of, indicate what is a pro or whatnot. So they're doing it on a weekly basis. They're beating the lines, the closing numbers off and on, or like I said, or they're scalpers in comparison to a normal casual bettor. If all that makes sense. I don't know if I explained it that well.
Yeah. I think I kept up with you well enough anyway.
Well, I think I just meant like the professional ones that are actually making a living and having that consistency seem to also not be the ones that are like, I'm just going to take these crazy, big, stupid bets to see if it works out very often.
Right.
Because unless you're made of money, you're not going to be a pro bettor if you're doing that every other weekend, because you're going to be out of money.
No, and their edge is small too, right? I mean, it's not like, these pro bettors, they lose quite a bit. They're going to lose 4 out of, 10 bets they're losing too, a lot of these guys. So a lot of people can't understand that. They're like, wait, I thought you were a pro bettor. You're going to win every time. No, you're going to lose. You're going to take a lot of losses along the way. But again, you're going to win more than you lose, and you're getting the numbers that's going to end up making you a profitable earner in the long run if you're doing things right. So, but it's a small margin. That's why, as people said, I know my buddy Yanni that we do the show with on UFC on the Line and the Gambler's Perspective podcast, he always says there's only 1%. That's true. The only 1% actually win in sports betting. I mean, just think about that for a second. There's only 1%, that are actually winners. That's how hard and difficult it is to actually, make a profit sports betting across the board. So it doesn't mean that you can't get on one weekend and make a killing on a UFC event, but to keep that up consistently, good luck. Yeah. It's going to be very difficult.
And does it get to the point too for someone like you where you're tracking your wins, losses, and then going back and reviewing them and see, how your past 2 weeks or past month went or something like that?
Yeah, you have to do that. I mean, we definitely keep figures on a weekly basis, to see what your hold percentage are or whatever. And then again, with the bankroll management, when your bankroll gets a little bit bigger, then the bets will increase a little bit as well. Or if your bankroll decreases a little bit, you kind of got to minimize that as well. So yes, you go back and review some of your bets. But again, then you kind of put that behind you though. Like I said, every week's kind of a new week type of approach though. You have to look at it that way, but you do have to go back through and look at some of your wins and losses and, as far as figures and kind of assess all that stuff as well.
So now that's playing with your own money. When you're playing with the lines for Circa, is it just you that makes these lines, or do you have like advisors or staff underneath you that you speak to, or are you out there all on your own?
No, I mean, it's me that makes the lines or whatnot out there as well, right? But I do have there's another odds maker, Rob Akers, that's been a long time veteran odds maker here in Las Vegas. Okay. So it's awesome because him and I get to chat. It's not a lot of people have the luxury of having another professional odds maker in the room with them or whatnot too. So it's cool. We get to bounce stuff off each other as well. But it's basically us doing most of the work, and offerings as far as risk management goes for Circa. There's not a big team of us or whatnot that you would say, but it's pretty cool. It's been working out pretty good overall. And it is fun to do.
So does it get a little nerve rattling when you're kind of iffy on a fight? Because you don't want to lose Circa a ton of money, right?
Right.
That doesn't look good on you. So
does
it get a little stressful at times? You're like, fuck, I don't know which way to go.
Well, I mean, no, because in that regard, then, I mean, obviously you're going to try, you're not going to try to get lopsided. If there's not, I'm not going to have an opinion on every fight, right? I mean, there's 14 fights this weekend or whatnot. I'm not going to have an opinion on every one of those fights. Obviously, I'm going to try to lean us in the right direction on every fight. But then once some sharp action starts coming in, and say I don't have an opinion on a certain fight and we get some sharper action, somebody that we have labeled as a sharp bettor, Again, somebody that's beating the closing line, that's profiting with you, he's going to be labeled as a sharp. So if you see a sharp bettor come in and take a fight that I don't have an opinion on, then we're going to side with the sharp bettors, right? A little bit more. And we're going to be willing to take a little bit more action on the other side of things. Then once you get to a certain point, you'll see some sharp action come back in the other way though, right? So then you just try to balance it out a little bit. Yeah. And then if you're going to have to obviously make a decision on which side you want to go with, or try to generate as much two-way action in that spot, you know what I mean? And just, try to profit as much as you can. So it's a sweat for sure, especially if I do put an opinion on the fight and we have some sharps agreeing with me, then that's kind of the ultimate spot you want, right? Like I have an opinion on this fight. Obviously I'm known as a sharp, so to speak, obviously. And then we have more sharp opinion that agree with us. Then we're going to go a little bit heavier on that side and we're going to stick our neck outs a little bit more. So it's not like everybody thinks all the sportsbooks make money no matter what. No, that's not the case. We win and we lose on a weekly basis. So it's not like every week we're grinding out profits. I mean, we'll definitely suffer some losses here and there. We take our lumps at some of these decisions, man. I mean, it doesn't help sometimes either, right? Like I said, you put yourself in a good position, then the decision comes out, you're like, oh my God, we just took all that stuff from us. So that's frustrating as well. But no, I mean, on a weekly basis, it's pretty fun. We try to get ourselves in the right position. But again, yeah, you're right. It is stressful for sure, especially when you are getting lopsided in a certain fight and you're trying not to, because it does happen from time to time. Most of the time I can manage the risk where we're not going to be too crazy either way if I really want to, right? But there's other times that no matter what you do, you can't get money on a certain fighter. You're like, oh my God, if this fight, doesn't work out, we're going to get crushed on this fight, right? So yeah, so it is a little bit scary in that regard. Or if there's an injury right away, you see, some of these main events or some of the, guy goes out there and tweaks his knee or something like that. And you're kind of leaning that way. You're like, oh my God. So yeah, those are the frustrating spots for sure.
And you also handle like live in-game betting as well, do you not? I read a really cool article, but it was from, I think, 2020. So I didn't know if you still did that. I just read it last week, I think, an interview with you. I forget what the website was, but it wasn't an MMA site. I think it was just like a betting site or a general sports site. But either way, it was a really cool article, and you're still doing that. You said, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Now, in fact, we're doing more, like little by little, we're trying to increase, our offerings with the live betting as well. So we typically try to do main card fights, like, the main cards of them. But like this last weekend, especially if the fights are on like ESPN or ESPN2, if they're on TV, then we'll try to offer more because the feed will be a little bit faster. That's the thing you have to deal with though, man, because there's people that have a faster feed. You know what I mean? Or there's people that are at the event, and if they're betting with you real quick, they can get in before you see the knockout happen, right? They know, and they hit you with that. So yeah, it's only on during commercial breaks or during in between rounds, I should say, right? So we only put it up for a small, like limited window, but we are getting some action. It's getting more popular for sure. You know what? I have a lot of fun with it, man, because the opinions out there from other places in comparison sometimes it's just head scratching. So I'll go up with a crazy different line than a lot of places that have out there. I mean, in most cases, we're all pretty much around the same boat, like around the same spot, but there's certain fights out there that you can definitely see where we're leaning in comparison to everybody else.
Yeah, in that article that I read, the interview that you did, you were explaining, I think it was Yan Aljo when the illegal knee happened, and you were explaining how that was clearly Yan's fight going into the fourth, I think it was, and the way the action was coming in, and then that illegal knee happened. You explained that example and another one, but it was really neat, and especially the way you explained, how you worked that quick, because you only got 60 seconds. Between a round, right? So you got to take in what you just saw, and if there's previous rounds, if the tide's shifting or what it's looking like, get that in there. And then how long does it take to upload? Just a few seconds?
Yeah, to put in the number actually. Yeah,
and we already have it live up there. Just a few seconds.
Yeah.
So, but your actual, for you to come up with the thought and plug it in, what do you have? About 40 seconds? 40,
yeah, I mean, seconds? Obviously at the end of the round, you're already starting to work. So even if there's like 30 seconds, everything's starting to kind of, you're watching the round or whatever. You're starting to get an idea of what you're going to throw up there. And then of course you're going to look at the other markets out there. So if there's other books putting out an in-game market, you're going to kind of glance around to see, because some of these books like Bet365 will actually keep the lineup during the fights, and back in my offshore days, we did as well. Like I actually had the lineup the entire fight. And again, you're facing a little bit more risk there because if somebody can beat you to the punch, if they have a faster feed, then you're really in trouble, right? In that regard too. But it's doable for sure. And I've done it. We've had success doing that as well. But it is, especially with the fast feeding and again the legalities and everything here in Vegas. I think it's better for us to do during in between rounds or whatnot. But yeah, you have to act quick. But we are starting to get people want to get down, right? So there's not a lot of places that are offering in game. So as soon as we put that number up, there's people that are waiting and just firing on the app or going to the counter real quick and trying to get their bets down. And then we have to adjust. accordingly. And then, obviously we pull down the fight, and then we pulled it down, and then we see what's going on with that round. So yeah, in a case like Aljo and Jan, when you're booking towards Jan, I mean, we were booking towards Jan, and then that DQ happened.
It was like a guarantee, the closest you can get to a guarantee, right? Going into that, I think it was the fourth, and it's just wow, man.
So you're sitting pretty heavy on the Jan side or whatnot. You're like, oh, we're in a good spot. We're going to clean up here, and then bam, that happens. You're like, oh,
just kidding.
You know what? Never count your money. Like that old saying. Like you know what?
Yeah.
Never. Like there's so many times in fights that I'm like, okay, I'm a minute away from winning this bet, cashing this bet or whatever, right? And you're counting your money. You're like, that money's gonna look nice in my balance.
Yeah.
And then before
Never
you know
think
it,
that, dude. That's the death knell.
that's
right
terrible.
there.
I know,
Right.
but it's just human nature. We all do it sometimes, right? You're like, okay, I can
That's why I
depend on
don't
that cash.
bet. I don't have that kind of patience. My stomach's not that ironclad.
Yeah. Or even worse, it gets to the end, the guy won and the judges screw it up.
Oh,
That's even worse.
Dude, there's fighters, we kind of see it with the Blachowicz fight and Ankalaev.
Yeah.
Blachowicz he pointed to Ankalaev like, yeah, you won the fight.
I know.
No, the judges didn't see that. They didn't see that, right? And who else was it? Oh my goodness. There was a fight a long time ago. Another one across those guys, a popular fighter, Jeff Molina.
Okay.
Who was it? Was it Zumagulov, maybe, that fight? Where didn't Molina or whatever, he was so frustrated with it? Was it that fight where he knew he lost the fight, like, so to speak? So he kind of was like, and then they raised his hand and he was shocked. He was like, oh my God. I don't know if it was that particular. I'd have to go back and look.
I remember that one off the top of my head, because obviously guys like us watch so many fights. But I mean, I've seen that happen before plenty of times where the fighter's arm goes up and they're like, are you shitting me? Like, no, I didn't win. Yeah, man, that's brutal.
Yeah, that is brutal, especially if you got, you know what I mean? You're on the other side. Like, what just happened? The fighter knows he lost. Everybody on the planet knows he lost. The media knows. We're all scoring it the same way, and then 2 of the 3 judges give it the other way.
We need to connect him with thesaurus.
Oh my goodness, it's brutal for real. Like, and I've been on the wrong side of like so many bad beats like that, man. I mean, again, especially betting 20 years or whatnot. Just imagine how many of those type of decisions.
My heart couldn't take it, man.
No,
I'd be bald. I'd be losing it. I'd be mad all the time.
I'd be in jail. No sad.
So frustrating.
Yeah. Nick, I got a question. Circa's on Fremont, right?
Yes. Yep. Main Street, Fremont. Correct.
So, what? Is there a difference? I've always wondered this, because like when I was working, I worked on the Strip, and they're all kind of the same, right?
Right.
And so at the casino I worked at, there was a very specific crowd, and I feel like a lot of places on the Strip are that way. When you
she's talking about the Fremont crowd.
No. I worked at the Venetian and the Palazzo. So when you get into there and Aria and that whole end of the Strip, it's a very specific segment of people.
Right.
As far as betting goes, do you feel like you have a very specific conglomerate that comes down there?
Well, for us, yes, because we take the biggest limits and we don't kick out players. We don't reduce players. Like, so honestly, and this is not just saying because I work at Circa. Like, if you're in Nevada, you're in Las Vegas and you don't have an account at Circa, you are missing out. You're crazy, especially if you're a big bettor, because, we cater to the bigger bettors. We cater to the sharp bettors. I mean, we're riddled. Our customer base is mainly sharps. Like, so we're booking to sharps because all these sharps are getting kicked out everywhere else. Right. So they're all flooded, I guess the way we did things, and our director, Matt Metcalf, he when he opened up Circa, he wanted to do things a little bit different. So this was kind of his plan. This was his goal to kind of, book to the sharps and offer these guys, big limits and fair limits, and kind of, because he was a bettor back in the day as well. So all of us that have been bettors on both sides of the counters or whatever you want to say, we know how frustrating it is to get down because we've all been limited. I've been kicked out of books that just let you bet $25, you know what I mean? And they're letting other people bet thousands of dollars. So it's just unfair because they want to kick out winners or whatnot. So we do things a little bit different, and the Circa Sports model is a little bit different. So in regards to your question, Amy, there's a lot of those bettors that might be, like you said, from that area of the Strip that are coming downtown now because they know they can get fair limits, they can get bigger bets in as whatnot. So the clientele that we get at Circa, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal, honestly. There's a lot of high-end clientele there for sure. There's a mixture because, like you said, Fremont is kind of like, it's different. I don't know if
I love Fremont.
Yeah, it's cool. It is different for sure.
Yeah.
I enjoy it too, but at first it's a shell shock for sure. Like,
Sure.
like when I first, I'm a kind of like these last few years I moved to Vegas or whatnot. I was kind of a Vegas noob. I didn't really know too much about Fremont, and man, like my first experience at Fremont, yeah, it was definitely eye-opening, so to speak, in comparison, because you're used to the Strip, right? That's what we think of Vegas. We think of the Strip, we think of the casinos you were mentioning, but downtown is definitely starting to boom right now. There's a lot of good things going on. So I think from back in the day, the stigma that maybe Fremont or downtown had, it's changed a lot.
Look, Fremont downtown is gross. It is gross. I mean, it is. Man. It's disgusting. In a different way
I could tell
than the
you,
Strip.
Going to work. Oh my God. Just on my way to work.
Horrendous. Yeah, and it's even less safe than the Strip, really.
Yes, it is.
Unless you're staying under the canopy and in the light, you know, or whatever. But like, I fucking love Fremont, and people partially because people don't go down there.
So bad.
It seems like
what goes on down at this place you guys are talking about?
So Jason doesn't you were down there. No, you didn't probably go down there.
No, every time I was in Vegas, I was just on the Strip.
Right. So Fremont was the original Vegas. Like,
that's
downtown. There is no downtown in Vegas like you would think of a downtown in a city.
Okay.
There's no like big tall skyscrapers and city center. There's a park to go eat at for lunch when you're on, and then Starbucks, and like it's not that kind of place.
Okay.
So it's old Vegas. It's all the old casinos. It's all the Golden Nugget and all the like fucking iconic, like old school. You can still pull the lever on the slot machines. People are puking into their coin buckets, kind of shit, right? But it is. That's what it is. And so people that like the old school stuff, like, will go down there, or locals. A lot of locals will go down to Fremont for sure. Everything's better. All the prices are better down there as well. Maybe not so much anymore, but
it's getting more. Like I said, Circa kind of upticked everything. Like the new Circa Las Vegas hotel, it's beautiful. It's one of the nicest hotels. It looks
gorgeous. I looked it up and I was like, this is in Fremont?
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like it's the gem of downtown now, right? I mean, it's just because like you could easily put that thing on the Strip and it'd be one of the most popular casinos on the Strip as well. So it's attracting a lot more, like I said, kind of upscale clientele, so to speak. Now, and all these other places, even the Plaza Hotel of downtown Vegas, they're doing some good things. You know, they're fixing up, they're doing construction right now. So there's a lot happening downtown, and it's getting better. But what Amy said about, man, the craziness that I see on a daily basis.
Bro. I mean, all of Vegas is crazy, but like Fremont's a whole different. What was there? Like that looked like where the old Binions was to me. Like what was there?
No, it wasn't Binions. I forget what hotel was there, but it's I don't know what they tore down to. Again, that's how much of a Vegas noob, so to speak, I am as well. But yeah, no, we tore down like an older property or whatnot, and then they built Circa Las Vegas there. For like you said, Amy, too, it is the original Vegas. One of the coolest things about working downtown is our risk room is at the Golden Gate Casino. So it's like right next to Circa, right? So it's all right there, but we're not inside a Circa, so to speak. We're in the Golden Gate, and we have a risk room in the Golden Gate, and that's where we run the lines for Circa and for the D Las Vegas and Golden Gate, of course, as well. So that's where our hub is, so to speak. And Golden Gate Casino was actually the original sportsbook casino period in Las Vegas. So the address is 1 Fremont Street.
Yep.
Like it's one. Wow. Like, so it was the first casino ever in Vegas, and it's pretty much they kept it like the feel of like the rustic feel or something. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Obviously it's been updated a little bit, but it's cool because I'm in the risk room and I'm thinking, holy crap, this was the very first hotel ever in Las Vegas. And I'm sitting here managing risk in this place. So it's kind of cool. You know what I mean? And that
is cool. That's very cool. That's
lot of the Jason, another reason a lot of the people that like it is like, it's second to the neon graveyard in signage, but like where you're on the Strip are all LEDs and crazy light shows and shit. Like there is an LED canopy down on Fremont now, but like all the old school, any of the old school like neon signs like you would see in the 80s and stuff that are left are down there. Like I think when Hard Rock left and took their big guitar sign down, and that was off the Strip, that wasn't even on the Strip. That was like the most like kind of throwbacky big neon light, like legit neon light thing that was on or near the Strip. The rest of it's all downtown.
Yep, you're right. Man, Amy knows more about Vegas than I do. How long were you out here?
I wasn't out there that long, but I mean, you got to remember when I was doing the MMA stuff, I was out there like once a month forever and ever. So, I have not. The last time I have visited was in like 2016 or 15. It's been a long time. Okay. I miss it. I was just saying this to one of my business partners the other day. Like Vegas is really cool if you don't gamble and you don't drink and you're not a partier, and like which is me. But like that's the thing. Like working on the Strip, you get the fill that you would ever and more want if you don't do those things. And I worked on the Strip, so it was like I got to see all that every day. People don't realize, and probably maybe I don't know if this happened to you, Nick, when you were like, I'm a Vegas noob. People don't realize that within 5 hours, like is every climate, every topography, major cities. Like there's a lot of shit to be said. And then you know, if you're going up to Charleston, like it's beautiful. There's snow, there's a mountain, you can ski, there's lakes, there's all kinds of shit to do that's not the Strip.
Yep. And that's what we're doing actually for the holidays here. I'm looking forward to it. Mount Charleston's so beautiful, man. Sled riding with the kids and all that. It's so I guess, I mean, being from the Midwest, you kind of like, even my wife's actually from Costa Rica. So you take her from Costa Rica, moved to Ohio. She fell in love with Ohio.
What?
Right? That's where I was born. Exactly. I was born and raised. I'm always going to have love for Ohio, obviously, because that was my home state.
No.
But are you kidding me? You go from a tropical country to Ohio.
Wait, this may get even worse. Where in Ohio?
Canton, the Football Hall of Fame.
No.
Yeah. Which I actually, one of my friends just told me it was voted. I think today he told me it was voted the most dangerous city in Ohio now or something. Possibly.
Nice.
So,
do you know who's from Canton, Ohio?
Do I know who's from Canton, Ohio?
Yep.
Maybe possibly like.
If I remember correctly, I believe Marilyn Manson.
Oh yeah, he was one of my neighbors. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Brian
Warner. He lived like a probably block and a half away from me. I swear to God.
Wow. Yeah, man. And he went to, there was an Episcopalian church not far from you. That's where they went to church.
Yeah. No, I swear to God. So how
did you know him growing up?
I mean, I was little, right? So I had an older brother who's 3 years older than me, and then he was a few years older than my brother too, right? So yeah, I mean, we like walk by, talk to him or whatever too, and like, talk to his parents. We weren't friends. We weren't hanging out as kids or anything like that. But no, I mean, he was just around the corner, so we knew each other. Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy, man. Because I, years later, I didn't even realize it. Like, you know what I mean? It was one of those things. Like,
he's got what, like 8-10 years on you?
I believe so. Yeah, that makes sense. Because like I said, okay, yeah, because he was older than my brother a few years too, and he's like,
is he really that old? I think he'd only be like early 40s, mid 40s.
Have you ever known anybody that wasn't from Ohio that was like, hey, that's the town Marilyn Manson's from?
No.
I'm a useless treasure trove of information.
No, that is cool. I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, like I said, for me, it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, like being a kid and not realizing, what the future holds or whatever. It's looking back at it now, it's funny. Yeah,
do you remember like their property or his parents or like I hear they were a super Americana family other than his grandpa was a little weird, but
yeah, no, I don't remember his grandpa or anything like that, but I mean the house is like right there and it looks the same too, the house is, now again, I don't know, maybe they moved after that or what parts of as far as like, so that could be a different house that you're talking about, but the house, I mean it still looks exactly the same from when I was a kid last time I went, so it's funny.
That's crazy. You were in Vegas for the pandemic then?
We got here right before the pandemic. That's what I'm saying. That's
why it's such timing,
yeah, so we get here.
What a weird experience.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we get here, then everything shuts down, man. So that's what I'm saying. So I was a Vegas dude, but then Vegas is different.
You had been there before that. You just hadn't lived there.
Right, exactly. But I've just been here like a couple trips or whatever, real quick. Nothing extensive.
In and out.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't too familiar. I didn't know my way around Vegas or whatnot too much. But yeah, so we got here. The pandemic happened. Everything kind of shut down. And even now, Vegas was open 24/7.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are not since the pandemic. Like a lot of these grocery stores. Yeah, it's not 24/7. It's frustrating because that was one thing I was looking forward to here. You know what I mean? Like everything's going to always be open or whatnot.
Yep.
The pandemic has changed.
It used to be like that. You know what always killed me? Crazy. I would just die a little inside when I would walk into a grocery store and see the same 5 old people sitting at the same 5 slot machines at the entrance. At a grocery store.
At the store, you're right.
Bro, I lived in Summerlin. They would be sitting at Albertsons just bing, bing, bing. Like, why?
Man. Yeah, that must have been weird getting there and the pandemic starts. And I mean, that place is always full of people, right? And then all of a sudden it's like a ghost town, so to speak, right? Yep. And shows are canceled, flights are canceled. That must have been so weird. That and after 9/11, I've always wanted to speak to someone who lived in Vegas, right? Like as 9/11 happened, because that must have been really strange too. All the planes are grounded. Nobody's coming to Vegas. People are afraid to travel. A place that you're used to the streets being full every single day, they're now empty. That just makes things so much more eerie when you're already going through something like a 9/11 or the pandemic, right?
Didn't Vegas, Nick, right at the beginning? I'm trying to remember. I was living in New York City when the pandemic started, so I was a little preoccupied myself. Mm-hmm. But didn't Vegas kind of do a New Orleans where it was like, yeah, it's real, but we really don't want to lose money for a hot minute here for like a few weeks or like the first month? Wasn't it kind of like iffy and things were still open and they didn't really want to shut down the inside of casinos and all that?
I think it was. Yeah, it was kind of like that. Then obviously they, the governor stepped in. Yeah, they had no
well,
choice.
The mayor was like, bro, this is how we make money. And then the governor was like, fuck y'all. No, we got to stop this.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So then, you know what, for a while I thought, oh, man, is Vegas going to suffer for a long time? Like after everything started opening back up or whatnot.
Nope.
I can't believe how fast it got back. I can't believe it. Like it's crazy going through the casinos. Every casino's packed. I mean, that's what I'm still amazed with. Like you were talking about the Fremont Street casinos, some of the older casinos you walk through, you know, a lot of us will still be getting down bets or whatever, meaning that sometimes we have to walk to one of these other casinos to make a bet to try to, you know what I mean? And I walk through these casinos and they're packed. The older casinos. I'm like, I mean, there's so many beautiful, nice casinos out here. Like, you know, you're going to end up being at this spot, you know, whatever the case may be, but they're all packed. People are having a good time.
Do you see mask wearers out there still?
Yeah, you do see. I mean, not as much now, obviously, but yeah, you still see some mask wearers for sure. And it was like that, obviously, for a while after, you know, the casinos were trying to be a lot more picky about that sort of thing. I think even after everything opened back up a little bit, we still had to wear masks for, I think, a little bit more than, you know, most people did.
Yeah, it's like Ontario up here. It was nuts. They're still out of their minds. No, I'm not against it. I'm not some lunatic who's anti-vax and no, I'm not that. But it's just they pushed it a little too far. But either way, we don't need to talk about COVID. We did that for 2 years way too much. So earlier, I was going to ask you. You're doing you set up the bets for UFC. You know, during the week, you're paying attention to that. Saturday night comes, you're doing the in-game. When was the last time you sat down, had a cold beer, and watched a UFC event with nothing else to do?
Actually, no, it's rare, but you know what? Thanks to the UFC,
yeah,
I've been able to do a couple of watch parties this past year with them, right?
Oh yeah.
So I was able to do the these pay-per-views all blend in, but the Usman Edwards pay-per-view, that crazy finish or whatnot.
Yeah.
So not too long ago, so we were actually doing a watch party, myself, Yanni the Greek, and a friend of mine as well. And that was one of the rare instances that I wasn't booking. I mean, obviously I had somebody cover for me at Circa, and I was on the phone still, like, communicating back and forth and making sure everything was fine. But I was actually at the watch party drinking a beer, just enjoying the fights as a fan, kind of, so to speak. I had some bets pending as well, but it was awesome. It was such a good time, like, and it's so rare to do. So I appreciate the UFC, like, kind of, you know, letting us do that sort of thing, and hopefully there'll be more of those. But you're right. Outside of that, like outside of the watch parties, I'm always booking the fights, you know, for years now too. Even like I said before, I've been at Circa now for a little bit over 2 years, but even before that, I mean, week in and week out, I've always been in front of the computer, you know, managing risk or whatnot too for several years. So it's weird for me to actually just sit back and enjoy the fights as a normal person or normal fan or whatnot. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. What is the actual, like, official description of risk supervisor?
Well, like I said, we're in a risk room. In our risk room, basically, is all the bets that come in. So we have, like, some of the tools that I was talking about. So our Don Best screen, for example, is one tool, but we have our software and whatnot. We have bet tickers that come in. So when you see a bet come in across the ticker on a certain market, then you have to analyze who the bettor is, how much money they bet, and then you'll adjust your line accordingly, right? So you're managing the risk, if that makes sense a little bit, in that regard too. So whatever the market may be, it could be soccer, it could be basketball, it could be football. So when I get into work, you know, obviously I'll take fighting every time I'm in there. So as soon as I get in, they'll say, you know, whoever had the fighting before I got there, they'll hand off the fighting to me. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so I'll manage the risk of fighting. But then, like I said, say NBA, for example. So, okay, go ahead and grab NBA as well. So we'll kind of, like, you know, set things aside. Like, you grab football, you grab pro football, you grab college football, you grab college basketball. So we're trying to, like, manage a particular area of risk. So whatever the sport might be. And then again, all the bets that come in for that particular sport, you're kind of deciding what to do. So if this bet comes in, this guy's a sharp player, he hit us at this price, I'm going to move it to this price to try to get money back on the other side or whatever. So that's kind of managing the risk, so to speak. You're trying to put your company in the best possible position for you guys to actually profit. And again, you're analyzing the bets that are coming in from the players, and you're doing, with that information, you're doing the best you can to kind of help the company out, if that makes sense.
So what's the big difference between, or maybe there isn't one, a risk supervisor, a line maker, and an odds maker?
Well, I mean, so for the odds maker, you're actually originating, or you're making your odds, right, too. And the risk supervisors or risk managers, lots of, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be an odds maker.
You just happen to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit of both, so to speak. And there's other guys in the room that make football odds and make different stuff like that are kind of hybrid as well. But you don't have to be an odds maker, so to speak, or originate or make numbers to actually manage risk. So there's a lot of our guys out there that do not do that. They just, you know, they're in the room, they're knowledgeable about the way to, you know, to move the numbers when bets come in and stuff like that. That's what they focus on the most. So there's a little bit of everything that goes on in our room, in that sort of speak, you know, and that sort of thing here. Do
you enjoy one side more than the other? Obviously you do it all, but
it's tough because I get asked that a lot. And
Yeah.
I mean, I love betting, obviously. I mean, it's the rush you get, everything, you know, I'm analyzing the fights and getting down money, this sort of thing. But I do love managing risk as well. So I don't know. I couldn't say, you know, I wish, one thing I do wish more so than I think a lot of people realize is in general, like as far as like our scale, I wish like we got paid a little bit more, of course, right? Everybody thinks automatically you're in Vegas, you're getting all this money because you know what I mean? No, I think the pay scale in general for like risk supervisors, risk managers here in Vegas, through the years has gotten a little bit better, but I still feel like we're all a little bit underpaid, if that makes sense. Of course, all of us are going to feel that way, right? So if there's any gripes at all, it would be about, you know, salary or pay as far as that goes. But again, how satisfied are we ever going to be when it comes to like, you know, our pay or whatnot, right? We're always going to want more.
Could always have a little more.
Yeah. So in that regard,
Well, when you find out what some people make at some casinos, it's worth being salty over.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. I mean, that's a whole other topic. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so that's the only thing. So I do enjoy both sides of it. You know, like I said, if there was anything, I wish our pay would be even higher. So I would enjoy that obviously a little bit more. So, you know, you're busting your butt. You're doing pretty well for the company, and not that, you know, Circa's cheap. I say it's a whole thing across the board. It's just the industry in general that is kind of, you know what I mean? The pay scale overall in most cases could be a little bit better, but outside of that, I do highly enjoy it. It's fun going in the risk room. We have a great crew that we work with too. I think that's very important. Like getting, you know, we enjoy it. Like we love sports. All of us that are in that room love sports, right? So it's not just fighting, but when it's fight night, it's a different adrenaline. It's a different rush too. We have the fights on. Like there's people that become fight fans just by sitting in the room and see me kind of go crazy at times too. I'm so passionate about the fights, right? I've been doing it for so long that I get into it, you know what I mean? Or if it's a big decision and we just cleaned up on something, I mean, man, that rush and that feeling you get for being right and being accurate, and you know, helping your company make money. It's cool. It's definitely a cool thing.
Well, I mean, like I'm getting hyped just hearing you say risk room. Like you're over here in like the CIA and
no shit.
And CIS and shit. Like I watch too much TV.
Yeah, the White
there
House
needs to
or
be a
something.
reality show, man. Like that'd be cool to have cameras on us doing risk. Someone that are doing a reality show in that regard.
Dude, that
too,
would seriously be fun though. I can't imagine the legality around having cameras in a sports.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a little touchy. I'm sure a lot of the bosses probably wouldn't appreciate that, but
no.
Fuck 'em.
But I'm telling you, the emotions, the beats, the bad beats, the emotions.
It feels like Wall Street.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean,
that's what I picture.
Yeah. And again, for us, we're a smaller team, so to speak, because again, we're only in a few states. We're doing really well though for these few years. I mean, it's grown to a crazy level. In fact, like I said, we're probably one of the most respected books in Las Vegas right now, and we're getting that type of action as well. So it's cool to see. We're definitely doing things the right way. But we are a smaller team though. You know what I mean? So we're not going to have the menu like say a DraftKings would, because we don't have enough bodies to actually book everything there is, and we try to focus and try to do as best we can with those markets that we do book. So we're not going to go like, you know, take on more things that are going to kind of take away from our attention on this certain spot, you know, if that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Do you have a loss leader or like some niche thing that like you never really do well on, but does bring in a crowd you wouldn't otherwise get?
I
mean, I know football, you said is always going to be the leader, but like, do you have no badminton, I guess, but.
No, I mean, for us, I mean, I think soccer's kind of tricky to book because there's so much sharps that like offshore and the international market, I think, is still ahead of us in that regard. You know what I mean? So I think that's a kind of a beatable sport, more so than not, but it's very popular, obviously. But as far as us go, like, I think that's, you know, something that we might not be killing it as much on or something like that. But every sport we end up from top to bottom, we manage risk. I mean, it's been pretty good. I think, again, it's been documented. Our sportsbook director just recently this weekend, I think, went out and said something as well. Like we're holding about 3%. And again, a lot of people would probably think, well, you're only like, you know, holding 3%. But that's actually pretty good considering we're like from inception, we're holding 3%, right? And dealing with sharps and booking to those type of players to actually be profitable and holding 3% is a really good thing. So we've been doing pretty well in that regard.
One line I want to talk to you about before we let you get out of here is I saw Jon Jones is the underdog against Francis Ngannou. Though the line I've seen so far. When was the last time? I don't have the answer for this. If you don't, we can just move on. But when was the last time Jon was an underdog?
Oh
like,
man,
first UFC fight.
Yeah,
he wasn't even a dog at that point, though.
No, but I don't. It
has
would
he
have
ever
to
been
be
an
maybe.
underdog?
He was even in his title fight against Shogun too. He was actually favored in that spot as well. No, but I mean, he was favored there as well. Yeah, he was favored.
Holy shit! That's when I figured he would have been an underdog. I mean, that was Shogun then. Shogun's retiring soon, eh? Last fight's coming up.
No, he was a dog to Andre
Guzman.
Yeah. Guzman, and which, well, honestly, I think at that spot, making his debut, because Andre Guzman was a pretty good fighter, man.
Yeah,
a lot of
for
people,
sure.
Yeah, so he was a dog in that fight, but after that, he was a dog to Stephan Bonner as well.
He was,
yeah, he was a dog, but a small dog. And again, back then, Bonner got a ton of respect. So for even being a competitive line, that tells you a lot.
Right,
so,
right, yeah.
After that, it looks like it was all chalk from there for Jon Jones.
So does a line like that, does that get you a little more excited because it's something you don't get to deal with on a regular thing? It's a big name. It's a super fight, so to speak, because I mean, Jon did relinquish his belt, but he's going up. He was the champ for so long, 205. He's fighting the heavyweight champ. If that fight comes to fruition, does that get you more excited than your every weekend of fights, fight like that? Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, there's no question, because it is kind of like a super fight, right? Like, this is a fight that all of us have been wanting to kind of see or put together for a while, or in a situation like this. So yeah, for sure, there's no question. And the handle is going to be outrageously good too. Like, meaning the action that we get. I mean, there's going to be so much money. So I hope a fight like that does, end up making it to the cage that day or whatnot, or and you see that fight kind of play out, because it's going to be, we're going to definitely be taking $100,000 standard from anybody on that fight. That's the type of fight where, so even on the app, a lot of people, like a lot of sports books, will make you go over the counter if you're going to bet that much money, but for us it'll be standard over the app. So if you go to the counter and you ask for 200,000, we'll probably give you 200,000 on that fight. It's one of those situations as well. So it definitely gets your just adrenaline, everything up another notch, and especially in a fight like that with two caliber guys that are just top of the food chain, so to speak. It's intriguing, man.
And those lines, like for each guy, they're probably going to go up, down so many times from here to there. Does that also get you excited?
Yeah, and again, it's going to be
that action,
right. And you're not going to have too much difficulty getting action on either fighter either, right? So once we move the line a certain way on Ngannou, once we raise it up, there's going to be the Jon Jones backers coming in and taking the other side.
Yeah.
If they're taking that side though, and it gets too low, there's going to be people that think Ngannou's going to knock him out, come back in and take the other way. So yeah, there's just going to be so much two-way right on that fight that it shouldn't really be that difficult to kind of put yourself in a decent position and then wait and see how the fight plays out. So yeah, that is a fight that just has all sorts of rewards across the board. I mean, like for the UFC, obviously, the attention, the eyeballs it's going to get, like for all the media out there, the attention, the eyeballs that's going to get, and then for the sportsbooks as well with a handle. So that is a win-win situation across the board for everybody.
And the thing we can hope for is it's a UFC watch thing for you, and you get to have a beer while you watch that fight. That's the icing on the cake right there.
That'd be fantastic.
All right, Nick, I'm so glad you joined us. Actually, as we were waiting to get you on here and everything, right? Going on Twitter, just search like James Krause, UFC betting, this or that. Your name came up a few times, and it would be things like Nick Kalikas is a UFC shill. He'll never say a word on this. Well, that's all you assholes.
I didn't even see that, to be honest with you, but I'm not surprised. Like,
and I was just like, what? I'm like, he's not like that. You know what I mean? It's not like we're here trying to break the case or anything. I'm like, Nick's a pretty open guy. And then I started looking, I was like, Nick hasn't said anything. Well, let's see what he's up to.
Yeah, no. I mean, as far as that goes, that sort of thing goes, hey, look, the UFC, I know there's a lot of people that kind of knock the UFC for fighter treatment, all this other stuff as well. But from working, like, again, I'm on the low end of the scale as far as like, I'm a contracted, whatever you want to say, consultant with the UFC on the line or whatever. They treat us so good, man. I mean, and the thing is, you walk into that, again, this is not because I have to say this is the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
You walk into that building, the staff is so amazing. I mean, Amy could probably, you've been here many times, right? I'm sure you've met a lot of the staff and you've been kind of around the situation. They're all friendly. They all work their butts off. They all enjoy working for the company. They get treated extremely well. Like it's honestly I've worked at a lot of good places, but it's one of the best places I've ever been associated with. And again, I'm on the lower tier of things. Like you know what I mean? I'm just like entry level, so to speak, sort of. So no, I mean, it's hard not to like stick up or support a company that just is so good to everybody across the board. They treat you well. You feel special, so to speek. They make you feel that way when you're in there, right? And you don't get that feeling with a lot of people. And again, it's genuine. I don't have to say that. It's true. That's what I see, week in and week out. Anytime I'm around, like anybody from the producers to, like I said, I mean, just the staff that they have helping you out and getting things done. It's a machine. It really is. They put in the work. So yeah, you can say shill whatever you want, but man, I have nothing but respect. I mean, I see it, for myself too. And
I think it's probably a little different now than it was 10 years ago.
I'm sure, things have changed a little bit. You know why? Because they've gotten way more professional probably too, right? Like as everything grows.
I would say.
Well, yeah. You got because the NASCAR look of sponsors, that's gone. Right? Whether that was a good deal or bad deal with Reebok, I know a lot of fighters were pissed off, but that Reebok look is a lot more professional than the NASCAR look. Getting on to ESPN, right?
Yeah,
that
was huge.
So yeah, right. Like you said, Nick, that it's stepped itself up a little bit.
Now, fighter pay, of course, I want to see all these guys get more money, man. Like we were just talking about employees. Like, of course, you want to see that. Not just the people that are title holders or whatnot. These guys are going in there risking, their lives every time they step in the octagon. So as much money as they could get, I'm all for that for sure. So I know people have some gripes on that end, but as far as what I see on my end, man, it's a class act organization that it's awesome to work with them, man. And I'm proud, it's hard to kind of get to that level or even get this opportunity with the gambling. I'm fortunate enough that I was able to get that, but it wasn't easy even to get to this spot, right? There was a lot of hard work. Many years of trying to, knock on that door and open the door. And thankfully with the gambling opening up a little bit, it's worked out. So, I think it's going to continue to grow. The eyeballs on the gambling and everything just makes the sport that much better. Like anything else we've said, I know I'm going backtracking a little bit, but
no, that's right.
when you have gambling on any sport and you're watching it, it just makes everything so much more exciting, right? So I think that's why it does fit in, and it's going to continue to grow. So, and the opportunities, hopefully will continue to come, and we get more eyeballs in the right way for the sport of, MMA, UFC, and then of course the gambling aspect of things as well.
Right on. Amy, anything you want to talk to Nick about before we let him go?
Yeah. Do you not want to just take up your time full time to be able to set lines and deal with Triller?
The Triller fights, man. I tell you what, I get it. I'm glad you brought that up because
I don't get it.
As far as marketing and getting attention and
sure.
But I don't like some of those fights, to be honest with you. It's hard, man, to see even. I know it wasn't a Triller fight, but Jake Paul, Anderson Silva. By the way, that was
may as well have been.
Yeah, kind of right. But that was actually a better fight than I thought. It was a good fight. Now in most cases, like some of the other fights, not as good. But that was actually
Nate Robinson,
right? Like the Nate Robinson fight, stuff like that. So when they're putting these kind of circus type of fights together, I don't like it. Honestly,
look, the very first card or two were like an event, a global online Snoop is doing what? That's a whole concert. And it was fun, the first event or two, but I can't imagine having to take seriously lines and odds on shit like that.
Yeah, it's very difficult, because you don't even know what to expect, because these guys again you have Jake Paul, which obviously he's putting the work in, he's gotten himself to the level where he's a legit boxer now. You can't say he's not, right?
Yeah.
He's made himself but at the beginning, and especially feeling out that whole situation, you don't know how good he is really going to be. And then again, these guys are putting you have boxers fighting UFC fighters, right?
Yeah.
A lot of UFC fighters are MMA fighters. Come on, it's not even almost fair, especially if you're fighting grapplers, man. You're a boxer that's going to fight a grappler. Come on. And then you're beating him, and then you're bragging, and you say, "Oh, I beat a UFC fighter." You beat a UFC grappler is what you beat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's a little frustrating, I think, when you see, because people are gonna think, "Oh, the UFC fighters are getting beat by some of these YouTube guys." That's not exactly the case. But again,
what do you do when you go 53-year-old Mike Tyson?
Yeah, that's tough.
He hasn't fought in 15, 20 years. There's nothing to go on anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And you just don't know. Yeah. So there's not. That's what I'm saying. So events like that are definitely more susceptible to take a big loss. You know what I mean? And there is going to be people that maybe understand the situation or know how good in shape Tyson is right now, or what he could do at this point, where we might not be able to know that until he gets in there and do that, right? So they have edges in situations like that for sure. So it's harder to book those fights. But again, the limits are a little bit lower in situations like that too. So we're not going to take as big amounts of money on those Triller fights than we do normally.
Crazy.
You done, Amy? You got any more odd fucking questions?
Dude, that's what I'm here for. I'm sorry.
No,
that is
good,
what
man.
you're here
That's
for.
good.
That's why I pay you the big bucks. All right, Nick, anything you want to get in here before we let you go?
No, thank you guys again for having me on. It was awesome, an honor to be here. Yeah,
it's
great fun.
Catching up with you. Yeah, it always is. You're right.
Yeah, but it's always fun.
So you can follow Nick at Fight Odds. You're still Fight Odds, right? That still hasn't changed.
Yes, sir.
Follow him there, and you can see you on Fight Pass. What are you on? What nights? What times?
Well, we have the Gambler's Perspective podcast with Yanni the Greek and I. And again, that's usually for every UFC event. So fight night event. So the week of the fights, we film on Wednesday. It's usually out by Wednesday night. Okay. And then for all the pay-per-view cards, and we mix in some fight night shows as we go once in a while as well. But those we typically tape UFC on the Line on Thursdays, and they're available live. Usually 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern is the normal slot. It does change from time to time. Okay. But UFC on the Line usually for pay-per-view events Thursdays, and then Gambler's Perspective podcast, like I said, Wednesday evenings. It's a Thursday morning. Sometimes it might get posted. So it's going really well, man. And I appreciate all the support out there for those shows as well. I've been told that they're doing extremely like they're getting clicks. People are into it. And the gambling community's supporting us, which is outstanding. And I'm really grateful for that as well.
Awesome. Good for you, man.
I need to know. I want to look up. It is a question, but where
there she goes again.
No, where you had Reed on your show, right?
Yes. Reed Kuhn?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the quickest way to find that? Do you just send me the link?
I can look up and send you a link. I can do that for sure. But if you do like, I think if you do the Gambler's Perspective, you should be on there as far as navigation. If you look and or do Reed Kuhn, I wonder if you do a search, if he would come up there.
Fire whoever manages your online presence.
Well, the Fight Pass you're talking. It has nothing to do with us. It's like the Fight Pass people over there. As far as like, yeah, I've heard a couple people kind of complain about maybe the navigation sometimes not easy to find some of those shows or whatnot. But I could send you a link if
I'm just giving you a hard time. I haven't talked to Reed in a lot of years either, but I always liked Reed.
Yeah, no, another sharp dude. I mean, he's been in this game for a long time too. I love Reed. I mean, he and again, one of those guys that are out there winning. He's a professional bettor, does it on a consistent basis, beating the closing lines. He definitely has things going on. So Reed Kuhn is awesome. For those of you guys that don't know who we're talking about, check out Fightnomics book.
Yep.
It's outstanding.
Nice. All right. For Nick Kalikas, Amy Barton, I'm Jay Kelly. This is Building Downtown. We out. Peace.